The alien stepped onto the starship with a slow, deliberate grace, her long ears twitching at every unfamiliar sound. She had crossed light years expecting humanity to greet her with hostility, perhaps even lethal curiosity, but the humans scuttling about the metallic corridors seemed more like a troupe of bumbling entertainers than agents of death. One of them, a nervous engineer with coffee stains on his uniform, tripped over a loose panel and sent a wrench spinning across the floor. She caught it midair with a flick of her hand, the motion elegant, precise, and utterly theatrical, and the crew erupted into laughter, though they tried to mask it with coughing and hurried apologies. She tilted her head, amused, her long ears tracing invisible lines through the zero-gravity air as she let out a laugh that sounded like wind chimes caught in a solar breeze. It was not the death they had expected, it was an absurd spectacle. She wandered deeper into the ship, her boots making no sound against the polished metal floors, yet somehow every step drew attention. Holographic displays flickered to life as she passed, projecting schematics and star maps that shifted and spun around her like a constellation playground. One of the humans attempted to explain their navigation system, waving his arms so enthusiastically that he accidentally projected a small holographic dragon into the air, which promptly began chasing the ship's maintenance droid. The alien's eyes sparkled as she reached out, touching the dragon, and it dissolved into harmless sparkles. The humans froze, unsure whether to be horrified or relieved, and she simply laughed again, a sound that seemed to bounce off every metallic surface with mischievous joy. In the mess hall, she found herself offered a strange liquid humans called coffee. She sniffed it, lifted it delicately to her lips, and promptly made a face that had the crew holding back their own laughter. One brave cook suggested tea instead, which she accepted with exaggerated ceremony, pretending to sip it and then dramatically swooning in mock ecstasy. The humans couldn't help themselves, they laughed until the walls seemed to shake. The alien, expecting terror and weapons, found herself instead caught in the unintentional comedy of human life. Every mistake, every awkward gesture, every frantic attempt at decorum from the crew only drew her closer, and for the first time in her long travels, she felt the absurd thrill of pleasure where she had anticipated death. Her ears twitched in amusement, her eyes twinkling with delight, and for a brief, perfect moment, the universe seemed not vast and indifferent, but hilariously intimate. Days passed aboard the starship, and the alien woman began to discover the strange rhythms of human life, each moment layered with oddities that made her long ears twitch in amusement. She floated through corridors where tools drifted like lazy comets, occasionally bumping into a human who would apologize profusely while knocking over a floating tray of food. She tried to mirror their movements, mimicking their clumsy gestures with her own elegance, which only made the humans trip over themselves more spectacularly, and she laughed, a sound that seemed to ripple across the metallic walls like a warm current of starlight. In the recreation deck, a crew member attempted to teach her an Earth game called Twister, which in zero gravity became a chaotic ballet of limbs, laughter, and misplaced flailing. She twisted, somersaulted, and nearly tangled herself in the humans' laughter, yet she found joy in the absurdity, a pleasure so foreign to her disciplined homeworld that it sent shivers down her spine. The ship's holographic library became her playground. She projected images of distant galaxies, letting them spin in spirals around her while attempting to understand human jokes about planets shaped like potatoes or stars that sneeze. One attempt at humor involved projecting a holographic octopus into the cafeteria, and humans screamed, ducked, and then collapsed into laughter as the aliens' long ears flicked in delight at their reactions. She tried to replicate these jokes, awkwardly twisting language and gestures into new forms, and found that the humans rewarded her with laughter rather than fear. Their mirth became a bridge, a pulse connecting her alien mind with their chaotic warmth. She began to notice how subtle movements, an ear flick, a crooked smile, a raised eyebrow, carried meaning beyond words. Mealtimes became experiments in delight. She sampled strange foods, accidentally flinging gelatinous cubes into zero-gravity air, prompting the humans to chase them like tiny, panicked comets. She joined in the chase, laughter echoing in perfect harmony with theirs, discovering pleasure not as a reward for survival but as a force that reshaped her perception of existence. Even the ship's AI, normally clinical and monotone, began inserting jokes into its status reports at her request, reporting the coolant levels with dramatic flair or describing an asteroid as a cantankerous pebble with attitude. Slowly, the alien woman realized that she had anticipated terror, perhaps death, but what she had found instead was a universe brimming with humor, delight, and a joy that defied all calculations. Her long ears twitched with anticipation, but no longer of doom. Now they flicked toward laughter, pleasure, and a human chaos she would never forget. By the time the alien woman reached the observation deck, the ship hummed with the comfortable chaos of human life. She leaned against the transparent wall, her long ears flicking at the faint vibration of the engines, and watched distant stars stretch into streaks as the ship slipped through hyperspace. What she had expected, hostility, fear, perhaps her own end, had been replaced with laughter, clumsy camaraderie, and a strange, uncalculable pleasure. One of the humans floated past her, balancing a tray of floating fruits and joking about zero-gravity juggling lessons, and she caught one cube mid-air, spinning it like a tiny planet in her hand before tossing it back with a playful flick. The humans erupted into laughter, their joy unrestrained, and she found herself laughing along, the sound weaving through the corridors like an unexpected symphony. The lessons of the past days had settled in her mind. Humor could be a weapon, but also a bridge. Pleasure could be as powerful as fear, and humans, though messy and unpredictable, offered a depth of connection she had never encountered in her rigid, orderly world. She had tried to anticipate every outcome, but the living, laughing chaos of humanity had rendered her plans irrelevant. Even the ship's AI joined in the final antics, projecting dancing holograms of aliens and humans alike, and she twirled among them, ears extended, utterly delighted. Her body felt lighter, but her mind heavier in the best way, filled with curiosity, wonder, and a strange affection for these creatures she had once feared. In the last moments before docking at the next station, the alien woman stood with the crew, sharing stories of distant galaxies while humans offered their own silly anecdotes, some exaggerated, some entirely fabricated, yet all laughed at with sincerity. She realized she had been transformed, not merely by survival, but by pleasure, laughter, and a series of tiny, chaotic moments that had made life unexpectedly rich. She had come expecting death, but instead she had discovered connection, ecstasy, and the inexplicable joy of being alive. As the stars streaked past and the station lights grew near, her long ears twitched once more, not with fear, but with anticipation of the unknown and a newfound delight in the unending absurdity of the universe. The journey that had promised an ending had instead opened a beginning, leaving her changed, radiant, and ready for whatever came next.